This is very appropriate for the times. It's called Remember the Alamo, published March 7th, 2019. Yesterday, March 6th, marked the anniversary of the fall of the Alamo outside of San Antonio, Texas, back in 1836. For 13 days, 189 brave and determined patriots withstood Santa Anna's seasoned army of over 4,000 troops. To a man, the defenders of that mission fort knew that day they would never leave those ramparts alive. They had several opportunities to leave, and yet they stayed and fought. It's difficult to recall someone like Davy Crockett, an nationally known frontiersman and former U.S. Congressman. Will Travis, only 26 years old, 22 small children at home. Jim Bowie, a wealthy landowner with properties on both sides of the Rio Grande. And a 36-year-old blacksmith and artillery captain who was the very last man to die at the Alamo, and whose wife and daughter were two of the only Alamo survivors. These are real men with real dreams and real desires. Real blood flowed through their veins. They loved their families, enjoyed life as much as any of us do. However, there was something different about them. They possessed a commitment to liberty that transcended personal safety and comfort. Liberty is an easy word to say, but it's a hard word to live up to. Freedom involves so much more than financial gain or personal pleasure. Accompanying freedom are her constant and unattractive companion, responsibility. Neither is she the only child. Courage and honesty are her sisters. They are inseparable. Destroy one, and all will die. As you read these words, remember that Travis and the others did not have the National Education Association telling them how intolerant and narrow-minded their notions of honor and patriotism were. They didn't have the Southern Poverty Law Center telling them that they were a hate group. A hostile media did not constantly castrate them as a bunch of wild-eyed extremists. As school children, they were taught that their forefathers were nothing more. Wild-eyed extremists. And then as school, their forefathers must have been racist jerks. The TSA didn't have them on a terror watch list either, and neither did the 501c pastors constantly filling their heads and minds with imbecilic obey the government no matter what misinterpretation of Romans chapter 13. The brave men at the Alamo labored under the belief that America and Texas really was the land of the free and the home of the brave. They believed in God and that their cause was just. They also believed that the freedom of future generations depended on their courage and resolve. They further believed their prosperity would remember as a sacrifice, an act of love and devotion. It all looks pale now. By today's standards, the gallant men of the Alamo appeared foolish. After all, they had no chance of winning, none. Yet the call they were never compromised. They never said, all they said was victory or death. To remember the heroes of the Alamo, as you watch the Republicans and Democrats in Washington, D.C. They're creating a more draconian police state than Santa Anna ever could have dreamed of creating. One thing for certain, those courageous champions of the Alamo did not fight and die for a political party or for some lesser of the two evils. They fought and died for a cause, and that cause was liberty and independence. In 1836, 189 defenders of the Alamo joined the ranks of the world's greatest freedom fighters, such as 70 Minutemen at Concord and Lexington, who stood against 800 British troops in the pre-dawn hours of April 19, 1775 at the Lexington Green, and hundreds more who joined them at the Concord Bridge a few hours later. Let's not forget the most single greatest example of men who chose to fight for liberty against the greatest of odds. The 300 Spartans who squared off with more than 100,000 Persians in August of September 480 BC. These are your heritage, people, the heritage of free men. the willing to stand up against overwhelming odds for the cause of liberty is certain Americans' heritage. At the same time, it's important to note that the Alamo defenders and the rest of the honorable men mentioned above did not act as a mob. These men acted in accordance with the natural laws of God, and thus their resistance was just and righteous. You know, it makes you stop and think about those poor guys in Benghazi waiting for Hillary to send in reinforcements. We send them help, which never came. Keep this stuff in mind, people, as we go forth, because there's a lot going on in this country now. If they're able to pass this Article 5 Convention of the States, you can kiss your Constitution goodbye forever. They're going to try and open this up under the guise of the Hawaii's protesting about they can't understand the Second Amendment. There's two different views of it. So they're going to try and use that as a pretext to open up a convention of the states. And if they do that, the whole damn Constitution will be down the drain. Mark my word. It's a ploy. It's a ploy to get the conventions of the state. And then you won't have state government anymore. You won't have your Supreme Court anymore. You'll have regional government. That's what they've been striving for all this time with the United Nations, the Council on Foreign Relations, Soros backing them up with the money. You better wake up, and you better wake up real quick. This is the gravest danger this country has ever faced in a lifetime. Thanks for watching. I'll put a link to this article.